It's my pleasure to introduce Elizabeth Gilbert, the #1 New York Times bestselling author of Big Magic, Eat, Pray, Love, The Signature of All Things, as well as several other internationally best-selling books of fiction and nonfiction. And she's just beloved by so many. Liz, we're also excited to have you here. She's been a finalist for the National Book Award, the National Book Critics Circle Award, and the Penn Hemingway Award. Welcome, Liz.
Hi, Heather Ash. Hi, family. Hi, everybody. I love seeing where everybody is from and all your smiles. And I'm actually, I know some people don't like Zoom, but I'm kind of a huge fan of it because I have my bedroom slippers on, like I'm doing a workshop, and like, we're just what we are. We just get to be here in our natural. Thank you. I see some more slippers being shown. We're all like slipper family, slipper family coming in proud. Everybody's slipper game very strong. I hope people are in their pajama bottoms, and I'm so happy to be here. And please be as comfortable as you can be. And if there's anything that you don't want to do as we're doing this workshop, don't do it. If you want to curl up on a couch and fall asleep and just keep the audio on, I'm a big fan of that. This is all about taking care of yourself. So, and Heather Ash, thank you for doing this, and I'm super excited.
Yeah, so grateful to be here. And I'm wearing definitely my Christmas pajama bottoms under all of this, because that's what we do. That's how we roll. So Liz, for those of you that haven't read Big Magic, can you give us the high level, like eagle eye view of your take around creativity as we gather to explore creativity?
Yeah, I would love to. It's actually my favorite thing in the entire world to talk about. So no problem. I feel, and I am not the only person who's ever felt this way. I think for most of human history, this is how human beings felt about creativity. That inspiration is an independent, energetic force outside of us that comes to us and then asks us to collaborate with it to make a thing. And it is not entirely, it doesn't come necessarily all from within, although we have a role in it. My simplest definition of creativity is that it's a human being's labor in collaboration with a mystery. Right? The mystery of creativity is that you get an idea. And I think choose to think of ideas as having an independent life. And they have will, they have desire, they don't have form, right? They have will, they have desire, they have energy in them, and they circle the world looking for a human collaborator, because as far as we've ever been able to see, the only species on Earth that has figured out how to collaborate on the regular with creative ideas are us, right? So they need us in order to be brought into form. So our side of it is to take the idea and bring it into form, because they want to live. I feel like they have an urge to be. I think the driving force of the universe is an urge to be, an urge, like a creative urge to exist. And when those ideas come to us, the next question is, you have a choice, and the choice is, do you say yes? I want to do this with you. I kind of want to get married to you. I kind of want to see what we can become together, me and you idea. Or do you fall and collapse? Well, there's many options. You can say no for reasons like, I'm already doing something else that's got my attention. Sorry, I'm not available right now. Come back in a year when I'm done with this project. Or the thing that breaks my heart is a lot of people say no because of fear. Because my actual lived experience with creativity, and I think it's a lot of people's, is that the way it feels physically in my body and in my being is that an idea comes to me and says, I want to exist. And then I get the excitement of that, because it's a visitation. It's like a divine visitation. And I have the same reaction everybody has when they have an idea. I'm like, ooh, like I get this like spark, and I get this sort of joy. And then as surely as day follows night, the very next thing I'm going to experience is fear. The very next thing is going to be a constriction that's going to come from my egoic, limited human mind saying, I'm not good enough. I don't have the resources to do this. I don't have the training to do this. Who the hell wants to hear what I have to say about this anyway. I'm not legitimate. I don't have the right education to do this. Other people already did it. I already did it, like any number of things where we start to talk ourselves down from that moment of inspiration. And I also think that the creative ideas they'll sit with us for a while, waiting for us to join them. But if we don't, they'll move on, and they'll go look for a human collaborator who's available, and because they just want to live, and they're like, look, if you're not going to do it, I'll go find somebody else. And I've had lots of experiences in my life, and I think many of us have, of having ideas that we didn't bring forward, and then you open up the newspaper one day and it's like, shit, someone did that thing. So anyway, that's my general idea. And Big Magic is all about trying to get not trying to live a life without fear, because fear is an operational setting in the human mind. I've given up fighting it, but how to work around it, with it, along with the reality of fear. So that's what I think. And Big Magic, of course, is the moment when inspiration comes to you and you say yes, and then you go on the journey, not really knowing how it's going to end. So.
Beautiful.
Maybe that was a longer explanation than you needed, but there it is.
That was perfect. And I think that's such a huge piece, is there's going to be fear. Keep going. And what new insights or deepening have you had in relationship to your own creativity in the face of like all the wild chaos and upheaval we've had over the last several years? What's bubbled up inside of you in a new way?
What comes to mind is that more and more I need to become an autonomous creative being, because all of the external stuff seems to be falling apart. I need to become an autonomous spiritual being. I need to become an autonomous emotional being, and I need to become an autonomous creative being. That's not about isolating myself. It's just about recognizing that, like, apparently it's getting less and less stable out there, right? Like that's what it sort of feels like. And so if my interior state is dependent upon what's going on outside of me, I'm going to be in trouble, and I'm going to be pretty anxious, and I'm going to be flipped out. So it's I feel like it's a call. It's been a call for me to deepen my inward world, right? Like the more the outward world seems chaotic, the more my inward world has to be more stable. Is a kind of boring word, but ritualized. Like creating rituals and patterns and just kind of like waves throughout the day that I can work on my own, that don't have anything to do with what's going on out there. Because what's going on, centered. Thank you, Laura. That's exactly the word. I was like, see, this is why I love Zoom. When I can't find a word, there's 238 people here who are like, do you want to say centered, Liz? Is that what you're trying to get to? But yes, I need to become more centered. And that's what spiritual practices, grounded, also works. Thank you, Molly. Yes, that's the balance. Look, everybody's doing it. I'm gonna crowdsource my next book on Zoom. Yes, all of those words will do as the wheel spins faster, which is what seems to be happening kind of energetically, karmically, with the world. You want to go to the center, and in the center of the hub, there's no spinning at all, right? Like you're right in there, and you can watch the spin without being in the spin. And so that's where I go to create, and that's where I go to pray, and that's where I go to be okay. Because I can't rely on it from out there. We never really could, but I think the more privileged that we are, and the more privileged that we have been, and a lot of us have held a lot of privilege in the world, the easier it has been to pretend that we live in a stable world. But I don't think we actually ever really have. I think it's really always been that way. It's just more obvious now.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And that place, thank you, centered, balanced, come back in. And I think too, one of the biggest, this was another great question that came in, is that one of the main blocks to creativity and living fully is this idea of perfection, that we have to be perfect. So how can we stop tripping over our own hidden and blatant perfectionist demons?
Okay, so perfectionism, one of the ways to understand it and to start to break it down is to call it by its real name, which is terror. Terror, like that is its actual name. And it is a very heightened, very sharp fear. And it is fear of not belonging, fear of not being enough, fear of being rejected, fear of being criticized, fear of being mocked, fear of being, um, fear of all your worst ideas about what you think you're not being laid evidence so that the entire world can see it, fear of vulnerability. So I think part of the problem with perfectionism is that we can start to think that it is that it's a good quality, right? Like if you're going on a job interview, you advertise it, like, I mean, I think that yeah, I'm just a perfectionist, like my standards are higher than everybody else. Like I just like things a certain way, right? Like we can start to like part of the ways we can start to bullshit ourselves is by thinking that it's actually an admirable, useful, helpful quality, when in fact, it's just fear in a mink coat. It's fear in a mink coat with pearls and high-heeled shoes, pretending to be fancy, when in fact it's super, super scared, right? So I find that if I can just unveil it, I actually think all of the things that stop us from creating are just fear in various disguises. And so part of like what I try to do when I'm stuck is be like, where's fear hiding today? Because like fear will show up with like a fake mustache and be like, I'm not, I'm not fear. I'm just I'm just being responsible. I'm just very, I'm just a really responsible guy, like trying to provide for my family. So it's not that I'm afraid to create. It's just that I don't have time for it because, I've got to take care of all these other things, and it's like, can you take that costume off for a second and can we look underneath it and like, oh, there's our old friend fear. Like, so it just, if you want to create and you're not creating, fear is the thing, right? I'm too busy. Like busyness is a kind of fear. It's an avoidance strategy. Busyness is a way that I oftentimes try to run from stuff that I don't want to feel, which is always fear. So if I could just keep moving, keep it moving, keep it moving, and then it's like, wow, I would love to be more creative, but I'm really, really, really busy, right? Like, so, and that can also be heralded in this culture, especially as an asset. We're all in a busyness contest to see who can stay the busiest and the most productive. But underneath that, there's this sort of existential terror. And I think that terror I think it always is, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. I don't belong. I'm not invited. I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm going to be rejected. I'm going to be mocked. It's always Byron Katie, one of my favorite teachers always says, there are no new stressful thoughts. There are no new, and nobody is unique. Like we're all the same bozos on the bus. I just finished writing my 10th book. And I have all the same fears that I had sitting down to write my 10th book as I did to write my first book. They're all still there. The difference is that now I'm so familiar with them and I've kind of befriended them. And I'm like, oh yeah, oh right, I remember this. This is the part in the process of the book where I think I never should have started this project. This is the wrong subject. This is not going to be as good as my other stuff. This usually happens right about now. I'm 30 pages in, and this is where that starts to happen. So it's just that I've learned to kind of chart my fear waves. Um, oh, this is the part where I start to think I'm washed up, like no one's ever going to want to read anything I write again. All my best work is behind me. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here it is. Like it's like waves of understanding how the mind works, and just being like, okay, I see you, and we're going to do this anyway. That's if there's anything that my creative mind says to my fearful mind, it's I see you, I love you, and we're going to do this anyway. So that's how it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that place of self-intimacy, like it connects with what you said about staying centered, because it's also
Yeah.
staying centered in our relationship with ourselves when the perfectionism, fear, terror, whatever arises, that we can be like, hello, love. Okay, back to
Whatever
work.
arises, we love it. We love it. We love it until it calms down. We recognize it, we see it, we let it speak. One of the things that I would do if we had a longer workshop today, one of the things I would have done was have you write a letter to yourselves from your fear, saying exactly what it's afraid of, and then having you read that letter, and without any judgment, without trying to read it with nonviolent love. Read it like as a way of just saying like, oh, I see you, right? It's like nonviolent communication. You're letting fear have a voice where it's allowed to exist, because guess what? It's going to, right? So we might as well decide that it's allowed to. And then you read all the things that it's afraid of and you say, I understand and I see you. Thank you for sharing that with me. And you don't try to talk it out of it. You don't try to cheer it up. You don't try to coach it. You don't try to solve it. You don't try to stuff it. You don't try to numb it. You just feel it, see it, and then you say, thank you. I love you. And I understand all those fears. And we're gonna play anyway. We're gonna do this anyway. Because what else are we gonna do? Just sit around being scared all the time. I mean, that's been a lot of my life, but every once in a while it's like, oh, I'm a little bored of just being scared. Let's see if we can make something.
Yeah, beautiful. And it just makes me think too of in Big Magic, you talk about Harper Lee and how she never wrote another book after To Kill a Mockingbird. And you wrote, like, I wish she had written a cookbook and a young children's, a young adult and this, and that just blew my heart open so wide to give ourselves that permission. And I've seen you do this in your career of doing different things that are unexpected, and that how powerful that is to both move through the fear and to open up to more creativity.
I think I also said I wished she had written a police procedural.
Yes, I was such a great list. I was like, all of these things.
I wish she had written like a Scandinavian mystery. But it's true. I think in a way, like after I wrote Eat, Pray, Love, there was, I definitely felt that, because I was like, wow, I used to be afraid nobody would read me. Now, I mean, here's the thing: fear is going to show up no matter what, right? Like, so it's like, I was talking about this with a friend who just had her first art show. She's almost 60. She just recently started painting. Her work is beautiful. She got a gallery. And she's like, the night before her opening, she was like, why am I terrified? Why am I like terrified, shaking? Why am I so unhappy? Like, this is supposed to be the thing that was supposed to be so great. And I said, because fear levels up along with you. So you used to be afraid that you couldn't make art. Then you made art. Then fear leveled up with you, right? And so as you keep going, it comes right along with you, and it just graduates. So then you graduated from being afraid that you can't make art to being afraid that art that you made wasn't good, right? Because I watched her through this whole process. Then people loved it, right? And then she was like, oh, I'll never get a gallery. She got a gallery. Fear like moves up and says, no one's going to buy anything, right? Like, no one's going to buy, oh, this is probably the last gallery I'll ever, this is probably the last chance I'll ever have to sell. This will never happen again. So like yesterday it was her biggest dream. Today fear is like, oh yeah, well, what else could go wrong? you know, what else could go wrong? And then when she sold out, it was like, I'm an imposter. I never should have, why are people buying my shitty art? And it's not her fault. What I was saying to her was like, this is just the way fear works. This is just the way fear works. It's doing its job. Its job in this whole system. It's the deepest, it's the oldest part of our consciousness. It's the deepest part of our consciousness. It hasn't really caught up to like the brain 6.0 that we're operating with now. So it just lives in this ancient reptilian vigilance, right? Like that is its job. Its job is like, I can be killed at any second. I wrote in Big Magic how if you have like a tadpole with a brain the size of like a period at the end of a sentence, and you put it in a petri dish and you wave your hand over it, it flinches and it recoils in fear. It can't write poetry. It can't like go to the opera. It can't love to make art, but it can be afraid, right? And then we started that way, and then we built these layers of other brain on top of it, but the tadpole flinch is still in there. So, and the other thing is that fear is programmed to do, so it's not its fault. Like, that's why I'm not at war with fear. I understand it's not a bug, it's a feature, right? It's doing its job. Its job is to protect me from death. And what fear thinks is that anything that happens where it doesn't know what the outcome is going to be, it has to assume it's going to kill me, right? Because its job is to stop me from doing new things, because new things could end to death, right? So that is why whenever I get a creative impulse, the very next thing that happens is that I get terrified, right? And creativity is like the layering of the brain that's way, way newer. It's like this new operating system. And it's like, let's play, let's create, let's make things, let's put colors together, you know? And like, it's just this like innocent kid that wants to do stuff, and fear's like, don't write a poem, it'll kill you. I don't know how it's gonna end. We're all gonna die. You know, like, and that's what it feels like every time you do something new. But that's just its job, right? So if you can look at the innocence of fear, and rather than seeing it as your enemy, you can just see it as it's just the way the brain, not my brain, but the brain works. And then you see it and you recognize it. And I talk to it really gently because it's always super jittery. And I'm like, I see you. You have a right to exist. I love you, and I've got your cousin creativity here, and we're going to do a thing. And I know you're going to sit in the back seat the whole time screaming that we're going to die at every moment. That's okay. You can do that. And we're going to do this thing too, you know, because I actually know from my rational brain that writing poetry isn't going to kill me, but my fear doesn't know that. God bless it. It really doesn't know what's going on. It's like everything is like death, death, death. You know, that's all it sees. And I'm literally sitting in my room, like with a nice journal writing, and it's like, don't do that, you'll die. So I've gotten like, I'm affectionate toward it, and I'm understanding of it. You know, it's not its fault.
It's such a relief to know that when we're stretching and being creative, the fear is going to be there, and it can
Only
just
always.
always, yeah. It's such a relief. And another great question that came in is, why should we refrain from making creativity our day job and instead focus on having a love affair with the inner artist?
Okay, so this is another way that I see people harm themselves creatively, is with this idea that the only people who are legitimate artists are people who are earning money from it, and that is the final aspiration and the highest goal. And if you're not doing that, then you're not real. You're not a real artist. You're not a serious artist. So I oftentimes see people really, excuse my language, fuck their lives up by um, quitting their day jobs to make their art and putting themselves in a lot of financial and emotional peril. And then what that often does, and it's not to say don't do it, it's just I've seen this happen a lot of the times where it what happens is, okay, what can happen, I mean, what can happen is that the pressure then that you feel to survive all goes on to your creativity, which is a very playful, very light, very innocent place that doesn't really understand things like money. Like my creativity doesn't really understand. It just wants to make something. If my creativity had a voice, it would just be like, fun, cool, let's, you know, like fun, cool, what's that, neat, put together, like all it wants to do is that, right? So if I come to it and say, I've got a mortgage, it's like, like it sees my fear and it's like, it's in the sandbox, like playing and playing. And I'm like, you need to create something that's gonna pay the auto insurance bill, you know? And like the creativity is like, I just like colors. I don't know why, you know? And so I think like I encourage people to just provide for yourself through other aspects of your being, and then let your creativity be free, because it shouldn't have to own the weight of providing for your entire life. Now, you might get really lucky and it might provide for your entire life. But I also like to tell people, I didn't quit my day job till my fourth book.
Mhm.
Like I had day jobs until, and that was Eat, Pray, Love. Like that was Eat, Pray, freaking Love. Like, and then I thought, well, maybe I can rely on this thing to provide for me at this point. But up until then, I didn't want to put that on it. You know, I really wanted to keep it separate and just have a love affair. And the way I love to see it is that I became my own sugar daddy and my own sugar mommy. I was my own art patron. My jobs, like working as a bartender and as a waitress and selling bracelets in a flea market and being a babysitter and being an au pair and all these jobs that I did that happily so that I could provide a life for my creativity, right? So I see no indignity in having a job that is completely separate from your creativity. I think there's a lot of dignity and honor in it, and I think your creativity will appreciate it. If you don't go into resentment about why do I have to do a job I don't love, yeah. So anyway, just want to say that. I just saw somebody say video's not working. Are you guys seeing me? I don't know if you were talking to me.
I think it's that her video is not working.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. We've got.
I mean, not cool. I'm sorry, your video's not working.
Oh, we're so glad. Not this is-
Great. Cool.
All right, sweetheart. We've got one more question, then we'll go to the exercise. So last question, please share more. And I should say last question before the last questions at the end. So those of you that have questions, write them down so we can get them later. Please share more about this idea that creativity is a mutual love affair between the creator and the created. And why is it so important to let go of the struggling artist mentality? So
one thing that might help you let go of the struggling artist mentality is if I tell you where it came from, because where it came from is an ethic that might not be appealing to a lot of you. We have record for we know that human beings have been making art for almost 100,000 years by physical evidence of it, right? Now, I suspect that they were making art that we don't have any physical remnants of probably long before that, including music, dance, things that there are no record of, right? I think creativity is our shared human experience. It's our patrimony, it's our inheritance. We've been doing it for tens of thousands of years. By contrast, we've only had agriculture for 10,000 years, right? So if you ever wonder, like, what's more important, art or food? Like, apparently we thought art was important 90,000 years before we figured out how to plant anything, right? It was like, this is really what we are. We're the creative ape. And we just we do it. Like kids do it. Here's how you know it's our natural state of being. Children do it intuitively. And the other way you can know it is that all your ancestors did it. Before there was mass creative culture that we all consumed, before there was mass consumer culture, everybody made culture. Everybody made culture. Like my grandparents, who were Depression era farmers, and they were from Minnesota, and they were Scandinavian, and they were Lutherans, which are like the least cheerful people on the entire planet, like the least arty farty people who ever lived. Like they were artists. My grandmother made quilts that are so beautiful that her ancestors put them on the walls in frames. They didn't have to be as beautiful as they were. Why did she do that? Like, she did have to make quilts for her family. It was a good use of rags, but they didn't have to be exquisite. She did it because something intuitively made her want to put those colors together in an exquisite way. It's our heritage, right? So then these German dudes come along in the 19th century, really self-important, entitled German men come along, and they invent romanticism, which is basically like angst, neurosis, angst. I'm super self-important. I will kill myself if I am not successful. I will, like, it's a death cult. Like, it's really a death cult. And then because they had a lot of power and a lot of influence, they created a sort of ethic that said, if you're not killing yourself over your art, you're not a real artist. You certainly have no reason enjoying it. Like, you certainly have no reason enjoying it because it's serious. We're men and we're German and it's serious, and only like serious German men get to do this, and like women can't do this and nobody else can do this. Meanwhile, like, everyone's been doing it forever, right? So they sort of laid claim to it. Yeah, you got to starve for your art. You got to, like, it's angsty. So once you kind of literally, I would love to see everybody de-romanticize the mysticism around the suffering artist, because it's not serving anybody. It didn't even serve those guys. So yes, please just like be, it's your natural state. It's one of them. Another one of your natural states is terror, but another one of your natural states is creativity. It's just about which radio channel you want to tune to that day.
yes. Perfect. Thank you so much. So I'm going to pass it on to you now, Liz, to do exercises with our group, and we'll come back at the very end and do another Q&A.
Yay. Okay, I'm setting my timer so that I can pay attention and stay on schedule. Okay. Yay. Okay. Hi. Here is the first exercise that I want to do. It starts with me. I want to tell a little story about purpose anxiety. which is another thing that people suffer from. And I know very few people who do not suffer from purpose anxiety. The meaning of purpose anxiety is right in the name. Probably as soon as I said it, you understood what I meant by it. But it's like, what am I supposed to be doing? What is my contribution? What is my one unique spark that I'm supposed to be, so, and the reason we all suffer from purpose anxiety is that we've all been sold this story that you've heard in every single graduation and commencement speech you've ever witnessed, most inspirational speeches, most workshops, most motivational speakers, which says each one of us has a single, unique, precious gift, talent, offering that we're supposed to offer to the world. And what you're supposed to do is spend your entire life cultivating that. So first of all, you're supposed to know what that is. And then, so you're supposed to identify it. It's supposed to be obvious what it is. I don't know why anybody would think that would be obvious, but it's supposed to be obvious what it is. Then you're supposed to find it. Then you're supposed to cultivate it. You're supposed to spend your life mastering it, becoming like the best at it, the very, very best at it, which again comes from like a scarcity mentality, a capitalist mentality. And then once you become the best at it, you're supposed to produce something that changes the world. And then once you've changed the world, you're supposed to produce you're supposed to monetize it and get rich off it, but you're also supposed to create like opportunities for other people through it. And then you're supposed to leave a legacy. That is your purpose on earth. So no pressure, like no fucking pressure. Every single one of us is being told that this is what we're supposed to be doing. And everybody that I know is just walking around like shaking in their boots, sweating in their socks about like, what was my purpose? Like, have I lost it? And I think it's a really cruel ethic because I think it makes everybody really scared. I think it makes everybody feel really, really less than. And I don't know. I have no idea of knowing what my purpose is. I tried to just do the next right thing. Like there was this one day where I was in California and I saw a guy painting his awning, like he was repainting a store awning in Los Angeles, and he was on a tall ladder, and the ladder looked really unstable, which I'm very tuned to because I had a jackass father who I grew up on a farm who used to do all sorts of stupid shit on ladders. And so I'm like, oh my God, like whenever I see somebody doing a dumb thing on a ladder, I'm like, danger. So I crossed 4 lanes of traffic, intuitively went over and held the ladder, like just like I did as a kid, my whole life with my dad. And he painted his awning and I just held the ladder for about a half an hour without him even seeing that I was there. And when he was done, he came down and I sort of peeled off and he never saw me and he never knew I was there. And I felt really happy because just for that day, a guy didn't fall off a ladder. And when I walked away, I thought, what if that was my entire purpose in life? Like, I have no idea what the mechanisms of the universe are. What if like literally I was sent here I don't mean to do that kind of thing. I just mean that thing, like they needed that guy for some reason. It's really important that guy not fall off a ladder. And like, what if I just served my purpose and I'm done? Now, what am I going to do with my life? How about just doing things I enjoy? So this leads us to our first exercise, which is that I want you to write a letter to yourself from your sense of enchantment. And this is going to be incredibly simple because your sense of enchantment is the part of you that likes things. It's that simple. It's like it likes things. And when it likes things, you get this feeling in yourself. This is not about thrills. This is not about adrenaline. Enchantment is a very warm feeling that I experience as, I call it the warm vanilla pudding hum of yummy, right? Like that's what enchantment feels like to me. Things that are enchanting that make me be like, oh, it's so beautiful. Like I was driving the other day in New Jersey, where I live, because where else would you live? New Jersey's the best. And I was driving on the New Jersey Turnpike and I saw a double rainbow, which was already pretty enchanting. But even more enchanting was I saw 20 cars pulled over off the Jersey Turnpike and all these people got out of their cars to take a picture of it because they're like, look, like that was even more enchanting than the rainbow. And I got that feeling of like, wow, like what a time to be alive. Like what a planet on which to live. New Jersey represents, thanks. So your enchantment loves you. It's a spirit in you that wants to feel that way. And your enchantment would love to tell you today, through the magical impulse of writing a letter, what it loves to do. What it loves to do, who it loves to be with, what makes it happy, when was the last time it spent time with you. And it's also maybe going to tell you what it doesn't like doing, who it doesn't like to be with, and what makes it kind of go from being warm vanilla pudding well-being to like tension. I'm going to read you mine. I wrote one this morning so that it'll help you guys along. Yours doesn't have to sound like this. Everybody's enchantment is completely different, which is why it's magical. So here it is. Dear Lizzie, so your first line, I'm going to give you your first line. Dear Lizzie, you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. I am your enchantment, and this is what I want to tell you. So go ahead and write that line down. If somebody wants to put it in the chat, that would be helpful. I am your enchantment, and this is what I want to tell you. And then let it speak about what it loves. So I'm just going to read you mine real quick to give you some inspiration. I am your enchantment, and this is what I want to tell you. I love being in 12-step recovery meetings with you. I would rather go to a meeting with a bunch of addicts in a church basement on a sunny day and listen to people talk about their awakening into serenity than almost anything else in the entire world. Please, can we do that for the rest of our lives? I love it. I love that you've become a sponsor recently. I love that you're starting your own 12-step meeting in October. This is pure joy for me, and it never feels like work. I enjoy it. I relish it. I love when you pray. I love when you meditate. I love when you align yourself with God. I love going to bed super early. The earlier, the better, especially in the summertime when it's still daylight. I love it when you eat popcorn in the bathtub and watch old episodes of The Great British Baking Show. I love driving to the grocery store. I like putting on a pretty dress. I don't like it when you go on Instagram. After we do it, I'm left feeling sick and wounded and comparing and numb and less than. Please stay away from there. It doesn't feel good. I like doing yoga with you at the same time every day. I like that we drink hot chai in the cold months and cold coffee in the hot months. I like pet sitting other people's dogs and cats. I love doing karaoke with Rich and Leah. I don't like being in the room with C and M. For privacy reasons, I won't name them. Please understand that if they are in the room, I cannot be in the room. As soon as they walk in the room, it makes me leave. Just letting you know. I love wearing overalls. I hate wearing makeup. I don't like adrenaline. I don't feel safe around people who like adrenaline. Please don't ever make me go skiing. The end. Love your enchantment. That's my enchantment, telling me what brings it to life. Okay, so everybody take 5 minutes and write yourself a letter from your enchantment. Opening line is, dear whatever your name is, I am your enchantment, and this is what I want to tell you. Okay, start to wrap it up. And when you get to the end, sign it, love your enchantment. Okay, so couple questions. And just like use your reaction thing to send up like hearts or raise hands as I ask these questions so we can kind of get a little poll, or you can just actually raise your hand, your actual human hand. Um, how many of you would have to be a millionaire in order to do the things that are on your list of enchantment? I don't see any hands up. Okay, so like, do you see how accessible it is? You know, like there's this idea that we have that like once I get to this certain place in my life, and this is what our culture teaches us endlessly, like once I get to this certain place in my life, I can create a good life. But you know, eating popcorn in the bathtub, which is one of my favorite things, doing karaoke with my friends Rich and Leah, you know, going to 12 step, like these things don't cost that much, you know. You know, they're available, they're accessible. So one thing that I find that's so beautiful about doing these letters from enchantment is that um, they show us how accessible joy is. So that's my first thing that I want to point out. Second thing, what if everything that's on this list that you just wrote, take a look at it. What if every single thing on that list and living out the things on that list is actually your life's purpose? Like, what if that's it? What if that's it? So this whole like questing thing that you've been doing about like, I need to, you know, in order to become an important person, I need to, like, what if it's this? You know, what if it's these things? And if you live out these things, you live your purpose. So that's another thing I want to offer. Third, guaranteed, if you live your life according to what your enchantment loves, your creativity is going to blossom in that space. It first of all, a lot of your creativity is inside of that space. Another thing I want to ask is, you can just raise your hands, but how many of you had things that are in nature on your list? How many of you had things involving water, baths, oceans, the beach, the sea, lakes? How many of you had animals on that list? Your pets, your like, do you see how like actually what we're enchanted with is like what our natural settings would have been as human beings in a pre-industrial world? Like we like to be by fresh water. We like to be outside in nature. We like to be around animals. Like this is, you know, this is what we are. This is what our natural, like this is what your natural setting, and around people who you like, right? It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. So I would love to hear if somebody would like to read theirs. Let's see, how am I gonna pick? Put your hands up if you would like to, put your virtual hands up if you'd like to read yours to everybody. And then, oh Lord, I'm just gonna, Aubrey, I see your hand up. Would you like to read?
Did I unmute? Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. Okay. I just go now. Dear Aubrey, I am your enchantment, and this is what I want to tell you. I'm so happy I'm gonna cry. I'm so happy we're here. I couldn't be with you for a long time. I tried, but you wouldn't see me. Sometimes I made you cry on purpose. I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted you to get us here. I love when we let Moose run in the yard. I do not love when you're afraid he's barking too much. He loves to bark, Aubrey. It is his love just falling out of his face. Isn't that what you want? A life you love so much, its deliciousness is running down your face. You are doing that now. I don't love when you are scared, but I stay with you for those parts now. I love how you come alive more and more when I tap on your shoulder now. I'll keep showing up for that. we can do this together. Oh,
Thank you. I did love, hi, that was amazing. And also the idea of like barks of a dog being just love falling out of a face.
oh,
um,
this is Lucy.
oh, Moosey. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Do you feel it? Do you feel the presence when you wrote that letter? Do you feel that it's an actual spirit presence that's with you, that's not exactly you, but part of you visiting you? Is that how you, that's kind of a leading question, but is
No,
that how you experienced?
yes, it's, and I think actually you just phrased it kind of the inverse of how I would phrase. So I got sober 3.5 years ago, and I just feel, you know, you evolve in phases. And this past year or so, I'm so much stepping into who I am. It's like not even, it's not a part that it's not a me that I knew before and abandoned and I'm finding again. It's becoming myself in a way that I never have before. And that's what I feel. That's what I was feeling with enchantment, like knocking on my shoulder, like I'm here now. I can be here now because you're here.
It's very hard for enchantment to live in a body that is not present, you know. But as soon as you arrive, it'll come and visit you. And it wants to play with you. I heard one of the most beautiful definitions that I ever heard of faith is the feeling of relaxing completely in the presence of somebody who is incredibly fond of you. That's what like real faith is, which is very hard for people to believe when they grew up with ideas of a punishing higher power, you know. But a truly loving higher power, when you find it, and enchantment comes from that place, it loves you, right? It loves you. And I always say, and I always feel that the work that I create loves me. My books love me. Like the projects that I'm doing, they love me and they want to work with me. They chose me for a reason. And they're not trying to be obtuse. They want to play. Like they picked me. So, and that's enchantment. Like, hey, will you be my friend? Like, I've got stickers. You want to come over and play with stickers? Like, can you ask your mom if you can come to my house after school? I would love to hear another one. I see Alyssa Lauren Stone. Would you like to share? And thank you, Aubrey. That was beautiful and brave. And congratulations on your sobriety. It's amazing.
Wow, thank you for calling on me. I just finished Big Magic with all of my many tabs. I saw it on Maria Forleo's website when you did her interview 2015 when the book first came out. So glad my cousin, who's male, actually recommended it and gifted it to me. So I don't think it's just for women. I know there's a lot of women here. So here's my letter to myself. Dear Alyssa Lauren Stone, I am your enchantment, and this is what I want to tell you. I love that you have finally listened to your higher self, and regardless of the fears that you have around finances, privacy, and people judging you, you are going for it, and you are listening to your intuition to attract the right teachers, clients, conferences, workshops that will allow you to refine your art and share your own talents with the world. I love that you are so knowledgeable about the different types of ways the body can heal. I love when you and I do yoga, when we pray, meditate, and call the angels. I love when we play music. I love spending time with BNL. I love when you write. I love that you're finally using your voice to create and share your knowledge. I love most of all that you genuinely believe in yourself. Love, your enchantment.
I love that. Thank you so much. I love calling the angels. I've never heard that. Is that a thing that you just do, or is that like a thing? Not that it has to be either, but it's beautiful. Oh, you're muted, love.
Oh, here we go. No, it is actually a thing to call the angels. I don't know if any of you all have heard of angel numbers, but it's about how numerology speaks to you in repetitive numbers, like 111, 222, 333, 1111 are angel numbers. Angels are, just like gods, goddesses, and other ascended masters that you pray to are there to help all of us. Archangel Michael is one of the most famous ones that we call on to protect us when we feel like we're in danger. So, calling the angels is something that I do because I'm agnostic. I grew up Catholic, but I studied Buddhism and Hinduism, doing a lot of yoga and meditating. But the angels I like because it's more kind of um, diverse and accessible.
Thank you, and thank you for that beautiful explanation. Okay, so what I heard in Alyssa's letter was the importance of ritual, and I'm really glad that you brought it up because ritual, I heard this wonderful thing the other day that said the only way to get out of a rut is with a ritual. And it's very subtle, that difference, because a rut is something that you do every day that is just sort of destroying your life. But a ritual is something that you do every day that enhances your life. And I would encourage those of you who are allergic to the word discipline, or who feel that the word discipline is shaming, because a lot of people are like, I can't be an artist. I don't have any discipline. I don't have any discipline. I can never stick to anything, right? Like, discipline is a mean word. It's a harsh word, and it's a shaming word. And it also, like, who wants to be disciplined? I mean, sorry, I don't mean to kink shame anybody. Some of you might, but like, that's, what I'm saying? Like, if a part of being an artist is a little bit being rebellious, right? And so, like, I think sometimes the imposition of discipline can feel really threatening to that part. But ritual, right? Like, I encourage all of you to see if you can create ritual in your life, because a ritual creates this groove, this rhythm, and your enchantment will be able to flow through that. And so the only way to get out of a rut is through a ritual. I would like to hear somebody else, and I would like to hear one of the men who's here today. Thomas Quallis, would you like to share? Come on in.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you called on me. This is
We're
fantastic.
glad you're here. We're glad you're here. I'm glad you're all here.
Okay,
Let's hear
ready?
your letter, if you're comfortable.
Sure. Dear Thomas, I am your enchantment, and this is what I'd like to tell you. I love reading with you. I love it when you make time to write. I love it when you find a magical thought and channel it to the page. I love good coffee. I love comfy clothes. I love when we are in nature. I love it when you take me on a paddleboard on still water. I love quiet. I love our solitude. I love that you are brave enough to put your art out into the world again and again. I love that even though you're shy, you are just brave enough to do that. I love calamari. I love hugging your friends. I love watching birds with you. I love lots of pillows. And I have to add, and I love talking to Liz Gilbert live. Love your input.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. Solitude. Gosh, it's such a rare commodity. And again, these paradoxes and these lines between isolation and solitude. Isolation is a mindset of fear and scarcity and not good enough and terror, like real terror of being seen, and solitude, which has gotten to be, like, I think actually my foremost spiritual practice is the practice of solitude. Just creating, like, pushing, and beautiful letter. Thank you so much. Beautiful. And thank you for your vulnerability to share, all of you. yeah, I can't remember where I read this, but I read this recently. A female artist. It was in the New York Times, and it was about a female artist who had died recently. I wish I'd gotten the name, but I got the idea. There was a letter quoted in which she said to a friend, "My solitude has no value to anybody except myself. Therefore, no one else will protect it for me." Does that make sense to you guys? My solitude has no value to anybody. So we are mostly valued to people by what we give them, right? So no one's going to protect your solitude for you because it serves them not at all, right? Like no one's going to. They want you for what you can give, for what you can do, which means getting you out of your solitude and bringing you out into the world. But my solitude is like the most precious resource for my creativity. I defend it and I guard it and I build that time into my life and into my schedule because I can't hear my enchantment when I'm around too many people. But I can't get angry. I mean, I can, but it's sort of useless to get angry or frustrated if other people are impinging on my solitude because of course they are. They want stuff. Like everybody wants stuff. I want stuff from other people. That's why I impinge on their solitude. Oops, and that's the timing for that session. Okay, so thank you, Thomas, for reminding us of the importance and the beauty of solitude. I was just reading this writer that I love named Richard Rohr, who's a sort of a theologian, but he said, what we don't talk about is how many times Jesus is told in the Bible to go and be alone, to go and be alone in the desert, to go and be in solitude. I think it's incredibly important, and it also reminds me of a story I love about back in the 70s. There was a Japanese Zen master who came to America and set up a Zendo in California, and it was very intense Zen training and a lot of silence and a lot of solitude among people, but like deep in yourself. And there was a couple who came there on their honeymoon because they thought it would be really fun. They didn't know what they were getting into. And what they were getting into was like 16 hours a day of meditation. And the woman kind of broke and she was like, "I don't want to do this." And she said to one of the monks, I got to go. I can't take this. And he said, "Well, you're free to leave, but we ask that you just go talk to the master before you go, and just not for permission, because you can go at any time, but just to let him, like, it's like an exit meeting, like let him know that you're leaving and why." So she went to him and she said, I'm going out of my mind. I've got to get out of here. I'm stir crazy. I didn't know what this was. I can't bear it. And he said, "You're free to leave at any time, but there's nowhere to go." There's nowhere to go. You're going to just bring yourself out into that environment. So you might as well sit here and learn how to be in solitude, because like that's the only place you're really ever going to be. So thank you for that beautiful, beautiful letter. I do love being alone. Man, the world hates to see a woman alone. They get really upset. The world gets really upset by women alone, but man, I love being alone. Okay, so we're going to move to the next portion. And so I want you to just, I want you to know that you can write that letter anytime. That letter, and it's going to change. Your enchantments are going to change as you evolve. I do this exercise a lot when I feel like I'm blocked and when I feel like I'm stuck. I'll go back and I'll ask my enchantment to tune in and to tell me what it's into right now. And it's not going to be the same thing 20 years from now as it is now, because we change and we grow and we evolve. So don't just do this exercise while you're here with me. You can do it every day. Like your enchantment wants to know you, like, and deepen into this possibility that is your true purpose in life. That is your true purpose in life, is to live out everything that's on your list. Certainly a better life than running around anxiously searching out there for what the thing is that you're supposed to be doing. Your enchantment will tell you what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be paddleboarding with your friends, according to Thomas. You're supposed to be doing yoga, according to Alyssa. Like it's like it knows what you're supposed to be doing. So there it is. But you can't live that way unless you allow yourself to have permission to live a life of enchantment. And so the next letter that I want us to do, the next exercise that I want us to do, is an exercise tapping into actually giving yourself permission to take everything that's on your enchantment list, like mine here, and to have that be, to say, like, this is how I'm going to live. And it takes a little bit of permission, because those lists that you guys just read and that I just heard and that all of you are doing, they run counter to what the culture is telling you is supposed to be important, right? Like they're really about peace. They're about connection. They're about quiet. They're about solitude. They're about playfulness. They're about intimacy with a few people. One of the things, if I'd read on in my letter, said, I hate parties and large gatherings. Please don't make me go to them. Like for other people, that might be where they come to life. But like, my enchantment, when it said it doesn't like adrenaline, it likes to be quiet and still so it can find me, right? So that it can hear me and it can find me. And our culture doesn't reward that. And it doesn't teach that. It's like, go, 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 hustle, 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 go get it, kick today in the ass. Like, it's like this very aggressive culture that we live in. So if you choose to say, I'm living my life by the principles of enchantment, you might get some funny looks, but you've got to give yourself permission to do it. So when I think about permission, I think about the permission slips that I used to get when I was a student in school that gave me power. Like every once in a while, I would get a permission slip to skip recess. I would get a permission slip to not have to go to a certain class because there was something else going on and I'd go to the principal's office and the principal would like hand me this like instrument of power, like Elizabeth Gilbert has permission to not go to social studies class today because she's helping out in the school play and they're building their sets. I don't know, like whatever it was, like I just remember I have this visceral memory of the feeling of walking around the school being like, y'all can't fuck with me. I got permission. like this is the ultimate authority. Like the ultimate authority has like told me that I can do this, right? And I think that one of the ways that we give our power away and one of the ways that we self-abandon is that we constantly look outside of ourselves to get permission from outside authorities or what we perceive as outside authorities to be able to do what we really want to be doing, right? And a lot of times they won't give us that permission. Like a lot of us are still waiting for the permission of our parents, and some of our parents might not even be alive, right? They might not even be alive, but they're still in our head as this authority saying, you can't do that, right? And like, because they're heavily weighing on us in that way, we're like, how many people, Brene Brown talks about art scars, like how deep and scarring art scars are. And art scars come usually in childhood. Most of us can identify a moment of art scarring where somebody who was in a position of authority somehow demeaned us to the point where we were like, oh, I guess I'm not supposed to sing. Like my mom was told, many people were told to stand in the back of the chorus and move her mouth and not sing because she couldn't sing, right? So she never sang again because somebody told her that she couldn't, right? Somebody could have like mocked your something that you drew. And that was lots of people can identify the last time they drew something. Then maybe it's usually like around 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. That's where like the shame starts to kick in. Like up until that point, we're just doing it automatically, but then somebody shuts it down and it stays shut down. And then we never give ourselves permission to do it again, whatever the thing might be. So it's really important to tap into an aspect of your being who can grant you this sacred permission to live a life of enchantment. And we already know what a life of enchantment is. You wrote it down. It's pretty simple. It's all right there. The only thing that's stopping you from living that way is perhaps that you haven't given yourself permission to do it. So this is an exercise wherein I would like you to write a permission slip from the principal's office. And the principal is the highest authority inside of your own mind. You could even put it on letterhead. So what I'm going to write at the top of mine is from the office of the principal. And if somebody wants to write this in the chat so that everybody can follow along. And those of you who live in other countries, you can say headmaster. If you have a different, like whoever the authority was at the schooling where you were, like imagine where you were in school when you were 10 years old. Who was the most powerful person in that school? The mother superior, like if you went to whoever was in charge when you were at a very young, vulnerable age, this is it. From the office of the principal. My terrible, terrible handwriting. Good luck, everybody. So And then you're going to write, then the first line is going to say, to whom it may concern, because this is a formal letter, because this is coming from authority. Elizabeth Gilbert, use your own name here, has my permission to never go skiing. Everything that's on your enchantment list can go on your permission list, on your permission slip. She has my permission to, and then list what you have permission to do. To not be in rooms anymore with C and M. Remember those people who, when I was in the rooms with them, my creativity disappears? I have permission to not be in a room with them. With C and M, like, let me look back at my list. I have permission to go to as many 12-step meetings a day on Zoom as I want, because I love it and it brings me life. I have permission to drive to the grocery store as many times a week as I want to buy a couple items, because there's something for me that is so freaking enchanting about going to the grocery store. Like, I like to look at the produce. Like, I like to just buy like one tomato. I know it's not environmentally correct to drive my car to buy a tomato, but like, sometimes real inspiration happens to me when I do that. I have permission to cook for my friends. I have permission to say no to invites to big parties that are going to stress me out. I have permission. So these are the things I have permission for. What I want you to do is get specific, right? Because I want your brain to hear these items of permission. So I'm going to give you an example of something that isn't specific, and then an example of something that is. And I think you'll find, somebody said they like the way I say delight. So I'm going to say it again. I think you'll find that the more specific your permission gets, the more delight you're going to take in it. So a vague one is, I give Liz permission to live her best life. I mean, that's very nice, but what does that literally mean? I have no idea what that means. Like, but if I say, I give Liz permission to take a bath in the middle of the day whenever she wants to, and eat popcorn in the bathtub while she props her laptop on the back of the toilet and watches episodes of the Great British Baking Show that she's already seen 5 times. That's delightful. You know, like, do you hear how like liberating that is? Like, I have permission to do that. Like, I give Liz permission to change her clothes 5 times a day. I change my clothes so many times a day. Even when I was a little girl, I liked changing my clothes. Like, it made me happy to put a new thing on. I give myself permission to delight myself by being like, I already wore this outfit. I live alone. Nobody even sees what I wear, and I change my clothes like literally 5 times a day. Like, and I'm like, whoop, now it's 11 o'clock. What am I going to put on? Like, it's fun for me. It's part of my creativity. It's part of how I express myself. I give myself permission. Elizabeth Gilbert has permission to put boundaries around her solitude, to block out days where she doesn't see anybody, right? Like, that is a specific permission slip. I have permission. Oh, there's another one. Elizabeth Gilbert has permission to delete emails without responding, right? This is a permission that I started giving myself a few years ago. I was trained to be a nice girl, a good girl, a polite girl, a responsible girl. And that meant that I was chained to my inbox all day long, being polite and good and responding to people. And now I get a lot of emails from people, and I'm like, I don't want to do that thing they're inviting me to. I'm just going to delete it. I just did it yesterday. And every time I do it, I'm like, I am so daring. I'm so wild. I can't believe it. But sometimes silence is the answer. If you didn't hear back from me, it probably means I don't want to do that thing that you just invited me to. I'm too busy eating popcorn in the bathtub, watching the Great British Baking Show to tell you why I'm not going to come to this thing that you invited me to, right? I give myself permission to do that so that my life will be more spacious. So I'd like you all to take 5 minutes and write yourself a permission slip from the office of the principal. Again, the first line is letterhead at the top. I've done this exercise with people who went and got printed letterhead that said from the office of the principal, and they wrote this list down, and then they got it freaking notarized, and then they framed it, right? So like, you can really go all the way with this. From the office of the principal, to whom it may concern, so-and-so, whatever your name is, has my permission to. And it can also be has my permission never to. And when you get to the end, you're going to sign it sincerely, the principal or the headmaster or the higher power or the Mother Superior or whoever was running your school. Okay, so just start those permissions and I'll catch up with you in 5 minutes. Okay, you can start to wrap it up and sign it in a very authoritative signature. And if you would like to share your permission slip, I would love to hear some, and pop your hands up, your virtual hands up. And don't worry if there's a lot of hands up already. We'll find somebody. Let's see. Karen Old, would you like to share your permission slip with us? Forgive me if I mispronounced your last name. I think you're still muted.
There we
You're
go.
still
Oh,
muted.
messed
Oh,
up my-
okay, there we go. We hear you.
Okay. Karen from Hunterdon County, New Jersey.
Woohoo! That's where I
Okay.
live.
Yay. Okay. So from the office of the principal, to whom it may concern, Karen Auld has the permission to write about Stranger Things without worrying about copyright. Karen has the permission to go outside more. She has the right to say yes to non-paying gigs that give her joy. She can use all her sick days and she can stop worrying about S's future. She doesn't have to save her.
Mm. Oh, I give all of you permission to stop saving people. Not helping people. We can help and we can serve, but saving. Oh gosh, that's such an avoidant tactic. I have avoided myself by trying to save so many people for so long. Thank you very, very, very much. I love that. Permission granted in case you need it, but you don't. You don't need it from an external source. You've got it now. Veronica Precious, would you like to share? I thought I saw your hand up.
Okay, now I can. From the office of the principal, to whom it may concern, Veronica Precious has my permission to never work a traditional 9-to-5 job or 40 hours a week again in life to make somebody else's dream come true. Veronica Precious has permission to get 8+ hours of sleep daily and a nap or two. Veronica Precious has permission to wear whatever she wants when she goes to teach at the university. Veronica Precious has permission to take messy action. It does not have to be perfect. Veronica Precious has permission to be unapologetically Black and not code switch. And Veronica Precious has permission to speak out against aggressions because there is nothing micro. Aggressions are aggressions. Signed, the principal.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It is a revolutionary act to demand 8.5 hours of sleep, like truly revolutionary to demand to not give that up. What you said also about not working a traditional job to make somebody else's dreams come true. Thank you for that. That was beautiful and incredible. And I co-sign that. I don't need to, but I want to. I want to put a thumbprint like right on every single bit of that. And do you see, like, I want you to hear each other's permission slips, because first of all, I want you to get inspiration about what you're allowed to put on your permission slip, right? Like in the same way that you can go back and revisit your enchantment letter, you can go back and add permissions, right? Like lots of times they're very short because we literally can't imagine that we're allowed to give ourselves permission to have 8.5 hours of sleep and a nap. Like we can't, like we didn't even put it on the list because it just seems so incredibly far-fetched. Like you can't have that. Like you don't get to have, like, so I want you to hear also everybody who liberates anyone. My friend Martha Beck, who I love so very much, says that the only thing you have to do to become free is to completely walk away from your family trauma and your culture. That's it. If you can completely walk away from your family trauma and your culture, you can be totally free. But in order to do that, you have to give yourself permission, like to be able to think differently from how you were raised, to think differently than the dominant culture. Like these are really big deals. And you fortify yourself, even by saying it out loud. Your brain hears you say these things. Somebody asked in the chat, is it more powerful in the third person? I believe that it is. I believe that it's a lot more powerful to have a third person voice come in and say, I give Liz permission to do this. Because that's what I've been wanting to hear my whole life. Like I've had this longing to hear somebody who I have given my power to in a position of authority say, it's okay, I give you permission not to do that, right? So when my brain hears it, even if I'm generating it, it lands. Does that make sense to everybody? Like this is where we're creating new neural pathways here, where it's like, wow, I finally got it. Okay, so Kieran Kramer, I'm not sure if I pronounced your name right, but would you share your permission slip with us, please?
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
You're unmuted and we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, first of all, for this amazing talk. I really appreciate it. So
You're
from the
welcome.
office,
I love it.
oh, good. From the office of the principal, to whom it may concern, Kieran Ray Kramer has my permission to eat chocolate every day, more than once if she wants to, sit on her front porch step doing nothing but staring at the sky and the street, say no to going anywhere she doesn't want to, especially parties with near strangers, bars with lots of drunk people, and lunch with boring acquaintances. Kieran has my permission to take a bath whenever she wants to stop worrying about how fat her stomach is, to be confident speaking to her agent and editor, to just write all day without answering to anyone else, to not finish books she's reading that she was told she needs to love but doesn't, like Moby Dick, to hold cats in her lap indefinitely, to laugh at really stupid humor and tell corny jokes, and to share her stories with a large audience of women who need to feel okay just the way they are.
Thank you. Guys, can you feel the energy of that? Right? Do you feel like if we were all actually, also I've been admiring your cat through the
Oh,
through the course of this.
He's right here.
Hi. Yeah, they get it. Do you feel like, okay, what I feel when I hear that, I actually feel thrilled. Like I'm not an adrenaline junkie, but like at my age, hearing a woman say, I give you permission to not have lunch with boring people who you don't want to have lunch with is more exciting to me than like going to a rave. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I hear that and I'm like, fuck yeah. Like I actually just get like, so like it does something, it breaks down old obsolete connective tissue in me, connecting me to outdated obligation that is destroying my life, right? That's why I love it. So thank you, all of you. And I hope that
Thank you.
hearing those gave you guys inspiration. I'm going to close this session and then we're going to go to Q&A. Family holidays. I hear you. I'm going to Costa Rica over Thanksgiving with one of my best friends. Yeah, I'm not doing it anymore. It's stressful. I've given myself permission not to do family holidays. Okay, so and look, if y'all love your family holidays, do it. But it makes me break out in hives, and it's not good. It's not healthy for my organism. I don't seem to do well. It makes me super stressed. I want to close by reading a poem that to me defines what it sounds like to write yourself a permission slip. This is a poem by the great writer Louise Erdrich, and the poem is called Advice to Myself, and I will type the title into the chat unless somebody else wants to do it, because some of you are probably going to want to keep this, and then we're going to go to Q&A. So this is a poem she wrote to herself, advice to herself about how to live. Leave the dishes. Let the celery rot in the bottom drawer of the refrigerator, and an earthen scum harden on the kitchen floor. Leave the black crumbs in the bottom of the toaster. Throw the cracked bowl out, and don't patch the cup. Don't patch anything. Don't mend, buy safety pins. Don't ever sew on a button. Let the wind have its way, and then the earth that invades as dust, and then the dead foaming up in gray rolls underneath the couch. Talk to them. Tell them they are welcome. Don't keep all the pieces of the puzzles or the doll's tiny shoes in pairs. Don't worry who uses whose toothbrush or if anything matches at all, except one word to another or a thought. Pursue the authentic. Decide first what is authentic, and then go after it with all your heart. Your heart, that place you don't ever think of cleaning out, that closet stuffed with savage mementos. Don't sort the paper clips from screws from saved baby teeth or worry if we're all eating cereal again for dinner. Don't answer the telephone ever. That's my favorite line. Don't answer the telephone ever, or weep over anything at all that breaks. Pink mold will grow within those sealed cartons in the refrigerator. Accept them as new forms of life and talk to the dead who drift in through the screened windows, who collect patiently on the tops of food jars and books. Recycle the mail. Don't read it. Don't read anything except what destroys the insulation between yourself and your experience, or what pulls down, or what strikes at, or what shatters this ruse you call necessity. I want to read that last line again, because this is how I feel when I hear your permission slips. I hear you shattering the ruse we call necessity. Don't read anything except what destroys the insulation between yourself and your experience, or what pulls down, or what strikes at, or what shatters this ruse you call necessity. So thank you for doing those exercises. I encourage you to do them again and again and again. And if fear shows up, ask fear to write you a letter, listen to it, respect it, acknowledge it, and then go back to enchantment, and then go back to permission. And that's a creative life. I think sometimes people really get confused about what creative living is, that they think it's about what you produce, and it's not. It's about how you live. A creative life is any life where you are constantly choosing curiosity over fear, enchantment over fear. And if you live your life that way forever, it doesn't really matter what you make or what you produce. Your life itself becomes a work of art, which it should be, which it is already. Your life itself will become the work of art. And then at the end of your life, you'll be like, that was really interesting. And then you'll die and it'll be fine. Like, that's it. Let that be purpose enough for everybody. So I think we've got some time for Q&A, and thank you, Heather Ash, for posting the poem. You're all wonderful. I wish we had more time together. So good to see your faces. So I can't remember how we're doing Q&A at this point. Should I call on people, Heather Ash, or did you want to do that?
We can do either way. I just wrote a couple questions down.
Oh, okay, let's do that. Let's go
I
ahead.
didn't write their names down, I just realized. So let's let you have a drink of water. All right. Da-da-da-da-da. So here's one of the questions that came through. How to keep writing a 60,000 words in when you have paused for 3 weeks?
Oh, 3 weeks is nothing.
I know, I was like 3 weeks.
Oh
girlfriend.
my God.
Whoa.
I was on books for like a year and a half.
Years.
Well, you're at the boring part, right? Like I just went through this. Because I just finished writing a new novel. Somebody asked if I could tell you a little bit about it. I will tell you only that it is set in Siberia in the late 1970s. That's all I can tell you about it. But the boring part is the middle, right? Like the boring part is like, well, now this feels like a job, right? Like the moment of inspiration, the moment of spark is thrilling and exciting. And the beginning is like, ooh, it's like I'm doing this thing and I'm making it. And then it's like, well, now this is dull. I just had a friend who's writing her first book, and she's at about that same level. And she's like, I feel like I'm losing my spark. I'm like, no, you're just at the boring part. This is what it's like for everybody. It's boring. Like it's boring. And a lot of people don't finish their work because they can't get through the boring part. The only tip that I can tell you for how to get through the boring part is you set the timer. I do it that way. I still do it that way. I can't even tell you, because I just finished a 160,000 word book, and I wrote it over the entire course of the summer. And there were weeks on end when I was like, I don't feel like doing this. Like, there's everything else I would rather do. It's a gorgeous summer day. I'd rather do nothing. Like, I'd rather do literally nothing than this. But my thing is, I set my timer for an hour. and I sit down, and I'm not allowed to stand up for an hour. I sit down in front of my work and I'm not allowed to stand up. I don't have to work. I don't have to write a single word. There's no word count. I'm just not allowed to stand up. And I'm also not allowed to look at social media or anything on the internet. So I have to open up the document that I'm working on, and I have to be present to it for 60 minutes. And at the end of the 60 minutes, I'm allowed to get up and go have my day, even if I wrote nothing, even if I wrote not one single word. A day where I sat on my ass, like they call it, there's a word in Yiddish, sitzfleisch, which means ass flesh, basically. It's like it means the ability to sit on your ass and be bored, like, so and then what eventually happens is I set the timer and I sit there and I look at the manuscript and I'm like looking at the timer, it's like 59 minutes, 58 minutes. And then I'm like, well, if I'm sitting here, I might as well like noodle around with it. And then that gets me to it. But sometimes it's like I'm really looking at that clock. And at the end of that 60 minutes, I snap that laptop shut and I'm like, I'm done. And that was hard. That was like hard work for the day. And maybe I only wrote a paragraph. But if I do that every day, eventually it starts to add up again. And then, then you get to the fun part again, which is the end. The beginning is fun and the end is fun, I find, in writing, because by the end, you've got this momentum going and it's like all exciting. But the middle is like, yeah, it's a long journey and it's boring. But just, I understand now that that's part of it. Like part of the creative process is sitting through the boring part. Don't get seduced by another idea either. Because those ideas will come to you and be like, oh, I see you're bored. Why don't you try doing this instead? And it's like, that's how you end up with like 60 half-finished projects. It's like, I always consider it a seduction. When an idea comes to me, I always say to it, you can clearly see I'm with somebody. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to buy me a drink, but like, you saw me come in here, I'm with somebody, right? So like, go bother Louise Erdrich, go to somebody else. Like, I'm doing this now because that's like a very good way to not finish things. And I always say to the idea, if you're sincere and you want to get together, like when I'm done with this, come and find me again. And if I'm still here, I'll work on you.
Oh my God, that was so perfect. Okay, Natasha writes, how do you balance the solitude required to write with the platform required in order to publish?
Well, I'm lucky because I have a platform already. But when I started out, actually, it wasn't hard because I was so excited that anybody cared, because I had so many years of rejection that by the time people started to care, I was pretty happy at that stage in my writing to get out there and hustle. And I really did hustle. Like I don't hustle anymore, but I hustled when I was in my 20s with my first books. Like I hustled. Like I took that book to bookstores and I told people to read it. I mean, basically it was a fucking pamphleteer, like standing on a street corner, like trying to like get anybody, because I was just so excited that it was published. So the way I see it now is I see my life as a series of collaborations. So when I'm in solitude, I'm in collaboration with what I call God, with my higher power, with enchantment. When I'm writing, and I'm in a collaboration with creativity and the idea, and then I need to defend my solitude. When it's time to get it published, I'm in collaboration with the reality of the marketplace. And that's what I think of as Ram Dass saying, like, embrace the incarnation. This is the world in which I live. If you want to get this is what you got to do. So I like enter into collaboration with that. And then when I'm promoting the book, I'm in collaboration with my publishers because they've made a big investment in me and I want to help them. So I try not to be too snotty and be like, I don't do that. Like I'll go and do parties with big people and shake hands because I'm in collaboration with my partners in publishing who help me to publish books and in collaboration with my readers also. But you can divide up seasons, right? Like, so during the season of writing, I'm not in collaboration with anybody. Like not even with my friends. Like my friends know when I'm writing, you're not gonna see me for a while. Like I do these like farewell lunches and dinners with all my friends when I'm about to sit down and write, because like it's gonna be many months before I do this again. I'm going in to be with the idea, and then I have these like celebratory dinners afterwards. It's fun. Yeah, I don't know if that answered the question. That's the best I got.
That totally answered the question. The seasons, I love that. Okay, another question from Sarah. if I don't know where my story is going, but I just have an idea and an overwhelming feeling of magic in my blood when I think about it, how do I push through this feeling of needing to know where I'm going before I even start the journey?
You don't need to know where you're going before you start the journey. The best description I ever heard of this was by E.L. Doctorow. He was a writer who wrote the book Ragtime and many other books. But he said the image that he used was driving across a continent by night. Like, so if any of you have ever been on long road trips and you've done night drives, like across the Texas or Arizona or Nevada deserts, like these long drives by night. You're driving to the Pacific Ocean, like if you're coming from the East Coast, of course I'm East Coast Center, but you're driving toward an ocean and you're in the middle of a desert and it's nighttime. You don't need to see the ocean to get to it, right? All you need to see are the like 100 or 200 feet. I don't even know how long headlights are, but like there's a certain amount of headlight on the road and you can go pretty fast only seeing 100 feet ahead, right? Like that's all you've got to do is like see that far. So, and actually I find that I'll lose my nerve if I look past what the headlights can show. I've got to stay, you know, like, especially if I'm writing a really big book like the one I just wrote, I've got to stay, I know generally where I want it to end, but I've got to stay in this paragraph. Like I've got to stay on this page. I've got to stay in this much road. Because I actually get like, the feeling I have is vertigo when I start to think like, how am I gonna like it's so like, how am I gonna hold this huge whole story? I don't have to hold the huge whole story. I have to like sit with these characters right now in this paragraph and write the next sentence. It's very similar in a weird way to purpose anxiety. Like we get dizzy, we get vertigo when we think too big. Like, go down, like, what is the next right? They always say in recovery, what's the next right action? Like, just do the next right action. That's all you have to do. What's the next intuitive thing? Enchantment will show you, right? So like, stay in the line. There's a lovely, the artist Paul Klee said that drawing is nothing but taking a line for a walk across the page. That's all you're doing. You're just taking a line, and like writing a story is just taking the story for a walk across the page. You don't have to go, like, don't get overwhelmed. Don't get ahead of yourself. So yeah, you don't need to know what it is. It maybe doesn't even know what it is yet. And you can also play around with it. And if it doesn't turn into something, like, I know I kind of like sort of bit like shamed, maybe said some shaming language about like you end up with 100 unfinished projects, but like, what's so bad about that either? Like, what if your whole life is just like trying a thing? Like, I tried a thing, I did a little bit of it, and then I wasn't into it anymore, and then I did something else. Like, why is that so bad? Like, that's cool. Like, that's like engagement with whatever you're into in that moment. So that's fine too. Don't even have to finish it. I give you permission not to finish things.
Sarah celebrating.
Yay!
Yay! All right, we have time for one question. I'm going to take a couple of questions and smush them together. One was someone saying, will you please do the Big Magic podcast again? And the second question, the second question was around Big Magic workshops and somebody who teaches digital literacy to Indigenous women and uses Big Magic in one of the weeks and would love to sign them up for a Big Magic workshop with you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. I don't know how to get their information, but maybe we can do that in the Zoom chat. But yeah, the podcast, thank you. Honestly, I've got to tell you, it took more time. It took too much time where I couldn't do my work. And I have to like really prioritize. I really prioritize my writing, you guys. I really do. And I found that it was a really big energetic commitment. I loved doing it. But it's the same reason, like, I got offered to do a TV show once, and I was like, that's cool, but then I can't be what I am. Like, I'm flattered and I'm honored, but like, really what I am is this is what I do. Like, this is what I do. So I may go back to it at some point in the future, but and I haven't done a lot of workshops this year either, because I've been writing. Like, what it takes for me to be able to create a 160,000 page novel about Siberia in the 1980s is a lot. And it's a lot. And so I've really got to pour myself into it. So I will be starting up some workshops again. So I will hope that through the organizers we can find something. And so thank you. Okay, I see you, Sharon. All right, I'm gonna write this down. Sorry guys, I'm just taking down a I'm just taking down an email address.
And I can also send it to you, Liz.
Okay, cool. Okay, but yeah, yeah, it's about God, man, I've gotten so over the years. I just know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I really trust it. And even though, there's a woman I met when I was younger who was an artist, and she said to me, you've got to curate your life and get like that same idea about how your solitude is not valuable to anybody but you. Like those hours are not valuable to anybody but you. You've got to defend them and sort of create spaces around them. She's like, you've got to like really decide what your priorities are. And I said, so I have to start saying no to things I don't want to do. And she said, oh, sweetheart, it's worse than that. You got to start saying no to things you do want to do, with the understanding that the thing you really want to do takes a lot of time. And I see that our time is coming up. So I know that you've got other things happening. So I don't want to go on too long. But yeah, start saying no to things you don't want to do. And then the real magic starts happening when you say no to things you do want to do, because you're prioritizing the thing you really want to do. Does that make sense?
Thank you so much, Liz. This was so rich. And I know everybody has a lot to chew on and digest, and more letters about enchantment and permission slips to write. So much gratitude to you. Thank you to Hierophant Publishing, who is hosting Insight events, and blessings on the rest of your workshop, everyone.
Thanks. Have a great workshop, everybody. And thank you, Heather Ash. Bye, guys. Love you all.